You have one new voice message. Press pound. New message.
Day 3 of Black History Month, we are officially celebrating a century of the wonderful, magnanimous occasion. Fantastic. 100 years of Black excellence, Black history. And speaking of Black history and more Black excellence, the Grammys happened the other day. Fantastic. Some of the most talented individuals gracing the planet Earth right now were there to get their art forms and get some of the recognition that they deserve, which has been awesome and wonderful to see. At least I catch the highlights, right? But one such highlight happened to come across my time. Artist by the name of Shabuzi, a country singer. Cool. So in his speech that he goes on to do at the Grammys, he, to my knowledge, it either was a song called Amen or like a duo album, whatever the case may have been. But there's another artist by the name of Jelly Roll. He doesn't even give any credit to the guy on the fucking song with him, which is odd, which is strange. Why are you the only one that gets to say something for the Grammy? You know what I mean? That's a bit odd. But then he goes on to say, yeah, immigrants built this country. Thanks to my mom for working 4 jobs and this, that, and the third. And immigrants really made America what it is. You brought the color to the canvas and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, that's a thing you can say. It's not a truthful thing, but that's something that you can say. But this isn't the first time, not even the worst time. Let's not forget Kai's and ads up here. Black Americans don't have any culture. So I'm like, I'm noticing a consistent trend of immigrants or first generations of immigrants being in America. And there's like, Black Americans don't really got shit going on. Like, and not to say that, the diaspora doesn't look down on Black Americans throughout the globe, because a good bit of them do, for any number of reasons, right? But here in particular, I was taken aback by the statement, by the suggestion, the implication and insinuation that immigrants built up the country and not the people that were brought here to do the exact job, right? Strange. But maybe he doesn't know. So I figured I'd get some numbers on that, right? So I did. Ran to Google, and I had just did, a cursory search. How much capital value was generated in the course of slavery, just for North American wealth, right? Infrastructure creation, the exploitation of enslaved people themselves, taking into account the farming, the slave auctions, the families that were born into slavery, the various industries that spawned up, supported, and thrived off of the back of slavery, all generated in the course of North America, running from slavery's beginning to its eventual end. So by 1860, the approximate value of the 4 million enslaved people in the United States represented a capital value of roughly $3 to $3.5 billion, making the slaves the largest single financial asset in American economy at the time. This valuation exceeded the combined value of all of the American railroads, the factories, the banks. When adjusted for inflation and interest to compensate the time, modern day, this asset value is estimated to be as high as $42 trillion. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a lot. But let's break it down a bit more. Looking at the total wealth and the capital assets, so the overall $3 billion value of just the people themselves in 1860 was roughly 3 times greater than the total amount that had been invested in banks, 48 times the total federal government's expenditure that year. Slavery made the Mississippi River Valley home to more millionaires per capita than any other region in the nation. If the Confederacy had been regarded as a separate nation, it would have ranked as the 4th richest country in the world at the start of the Civil War. It is estimated that enslaved people were deprived of about 20.3 trillion in wages for the cost of the labor. But let's not stop there, because it wasn't just the bodies themselves. It was the product, the agriculture, the industry that it was. So, by 1860, enslaved workers produced around 4 million bales of cotton annually, valued at $200 million or $6 billion in today's money. This crop alone fueled the Industrial Revolution, supplying textile mills in both Great Britain and New England. The slave industry here is what allowed the thriving textile mills and the wonderful bleak smog painted skies over there in Britain to exist. Northern banks and insurance companies thrived by financing plantation operations and insuring enslaved people as property. Enslaved people were also used as collateral to secure loans for purchasing more land or more slaves. So, we'll get back to the insurance thing later. As far as infrastructure goes, slave labor was used to build the most critical of American infrastructure, such as the railroads, for example. Slave-built rail lines in the 1830s established Atlanta as a major transportation hub, which is a role that continues to drive Georgia's economy today. Between 1820 and 1860, roughly 1 million people were forcibly moved in the domestic slave trade. This trade was immensely profitable, and a healthy young man would sell for about $1,000 in 1850, which in 2026 equates to about $41,554. So there's a good bit. I took things a step further. This went on for maybe another 30 or 40 minutes, because now I was taking a look at, if we were to compare and contrast this, the greatest theft in history of lives, of families, versus the contributions and the wealth generated by immigrants to America. And I don't even know if I've got the heart to read through the rest of it, so I'll just throw everything else up on screen. We've taken a look at just the nature of how the wealth had been accumulated, the people themselves being the actual value, the capital, versus with immigrants, they worked in the factories. They were they showed up to take advantage of, again, the infrastructure that was built off of several decades, hundreds of years of slavery. There's not really much of a comparison, and for you to think as if there is or could be is more or less just a highlighter for the ignorance that you have for the actual state of affairs. The modern impact, in today's money, immigrants contribute about $2 trillion to the U.S. GDP annually. And today's money, the estimated stolen value from slavery varies between $15 to $42 trillion. But I could definitely make the argument it's probably a good bit longer than that. Good bit more than that. So yeah, no, bro, fuck, it's a lot. It's crazy. They would look you in your face and tell you that where you are in life right now is because you're just a lazy piece of shit. Mind you, look, we're gonna pick it up tomorrow. Holy shit, dog. That's crazy. I love my people. And honestly, I feel like a lot of this information, the data, the numbers, the scope and scale of what this really is and was, is clearly not emphasized. There was some poetry that I came across, which, if you know anything about me, which I love me some poetry. I love me a little Def Jam. You know what I mean? It's wonderful. So I think that we'll close with that. And I think maybe even tomorrow's video, we can actually cover some of the inventions, some of the pioneers, some of the contributions to the modern age instead of just what we got here. I also want to do like a timeline too, because a lot of people don't really realize how far out the weeds that we are, in a sense of they're still wrapped around our shoelaces. You know what I mean? Like this, none of this transpired that long ago in the grand scheme of things. I think we'll do that first, and then maybe Thursday we can touch on some of the inventors, the pioneers, and I think Friday I want to touch on some of my favorite Black content creators, because why not? I've seen some people that are in the space that are, it's reassuring, it's heartwarming, it's wonderful to see that, my people's out here like fighting a good fight. That's beautiful. And I'm delighted and thrilled to chip in. So, and this is what you're looking for, what you're in the mood for, what you're in the groove for. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. It's a delight, a thrill, a joy to have you around. If there was something that you had learned, please feel free to lob it up. I find myself oftentimes in that little tug of war stretch between trying to enjoy the progress that has been made and where we are in society right now, and also realizing, man, because that motherfucker looking at me crazy. Like it's written on your face. It is sometimes it's written on your lips. It's like we aren't as far as we thought we were, but that says a lot more about them than it does about us. As far as me, what am I saying? I'll see you next time. Take care.
Please leave a message after the tone.
We learned your French. We learned your English. We learned your Spanish. We learned your Dutch. We learned your Portuguese. You learned our nothing. You called us stupid. That's white privilege. And I'm sure it probably hurts for you to hear those two words, kind of like gunshots and explosions from those commissioned to protect you, whisking past your ears. What is white privilege? It is the only 5 decades of legal acknowledgement expected to correct 400 years of white transgression. It is crack versus cocaine. Blacks receiving almost 20% longer sentences for the same exact offenses, like, for instance, a black man without a record is less likely to get a job than a white fellow. Well, maybe it's because we're lazy and we don't work hard enough. Like, what the fuck? 400 years in the same field literally is an incredible resume builder. It is Katrina answering the government's prayers of eugenics, Dick Cheney going fishing the next day, Condoleezza on a shopping spree, Bush in San Diego, but Kanye was the one you call crazy. He still is crazy. Because, like, it took the USA 2 days to get aid to Asia, but 5 for FEMA to get to Canal Street and Esplanade. It is the one black kid who beat the shit out of the odds, but only thanks to Michelle Pfeiffer, Sandra Bullock, and the White Shadow, so now we all can make it. It's the only time thousands of white people are cheering for the black kid to win is in a stadium. It is you looking at me crazy if I told you to go back to Europe, even though we didn't have a say, and your great-grandparents came here voluntarily. It is you all of a sudden having a problem with immigration like this isn't even your nation. How the hell do you discover some shit that wasn't even missing to begin with? You've Columbused our traditions. Had white girls twerking in high definition with multicolored hair and purple nails, but it was ghetto when we did it. Oh, am I making you uncomfortable? Try a cram slave ship. Oh, wait, slavery is over now. It's just called the prison system, because, like, you're not racist because you don't use the N-word, but y'all use niggas every day. What is white privilege? It is acceptance of bombs over Baghdad, but not over Boston. It is European history being taught as a major and African as an elective. It is learning about my people only 28 days like I'm not black every fucking second as every white boy. I want to screw my brains out, not because I'm pretty, but because I'm pretty for a black girl. It's people thinking that Africa is one nation, is the waving of the Confederate flag like you didn't lose the battle and then telling us to get over slavery. It is people saying that black people destroyed neighborhoods, but forgetting that white people have destroyed continents. Is every time I bring out my plight. Some white man has to tell me that I'm crazy, but is kind enough to praise my English or say that we're all given the same opportunities, even though he has a family history of wealth. And I don't even know my family history at all. It's a justification of police brutality. Like, what did that person do? Well, I'm sure it doesn't hurt as much when the victim doesn't look like you. It is people thinking that affirmative action is an unfair advantage instead of keeping the qualified from being unfairly disadvantaged, or throwing out a qualified applicant because their name sounded too African-American as Newports imported into black communities, but black boys exported for weed. And it's big plastic asses that are called fat when we naturally have them. It is an Australian woman whose new classic of rap music is everyone who hears this poem dismisses all this truth I just spit as reverse racism. That is white privilege.